Welcome to Elevate with Emily. Today I want to talk about a very common trap in the way that we think. That is black and white thinking. Thinking that there are only two possible solutions to whatever we're going through. Either I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. Can't we both be right? Can't we both be wrong? Can we be okay with not having a solution to something? I love this quote that there is no way to be perfect, but there are a million ways to be good. In a relationship, there is no way to be perfect. There's no way to be a perfect mother. There's no way to be a perfect partner. There's no way to be a perfect friend, but there are a million ways to be a good one. At any given moment, you have decisions to make. And it's not black and white. It's not either I'm making the perfect right choice every time because I'm perfect, or I'm making the bad choice because I am bad. Life is more complicated and more nuanced than that right or wrong, black and white type of thinking. And so if you ever find yourself starting to think that way or starting to argue that way, stop and recognize you're in a trap, because there is always more to the story. It is more nuanced than that. It is when we get stuck in this rigid way of thinking that we block the opportunity for growth and goodness to come into our life. We often catch ourselves in this way of thinking when it comes to expectations we have for what we should do or what others should do. Those expectations really build up this framework that it can only be this way and has to fit in this box in order for it to work out, in order for me to be happy, in order for everything to go how it needs to go. This is how it needs to happen. And if it's outside of that box, then it's wrong. And that eliminates room for creativity and expression and grace. And it forces you to be picture perfect in that box and doesn't allow room for error. And guess what? We're all going to make mistakes. We cannot be perfect. And so when we get into that box mind frame, we're setting ourselves up for failure. We're setting an expectation that in reality we can't reach or achieve. Multiple things can be true at the same time. My experience with reality can be 100% valid, and someone else with a very different experience can also be 100% valid, right? We might watch the same TV show and have completely different reactions. I might be moved and touched and inspired, and that is my reality. That actually happened. And at the same time, another person watching that exact same thing might be stressed, overwhelmed, feeling guilty or depressed or unmotivated, because that was their experience as they took what was said and interpreted it and internalized it in a way that made sense for them or that worked for them. And I took that same thing and internalized it in a way that fit within my framework. And we had completely different outcomes. And those outcomes are almost like the opposite of each other, and yet they're both true at the exact same time. And that is often what life is. We're all different people experiencing similar things, but also experiencing very different things and interpreting it in unique and different ways, and having different experiences and different emotions and different expectations from each other. And someone else having a different experience than you doesn't invalidate your experience. And I feel like maybe that's why it's so hard for us to accept someone else's differing expectation. We go and do something nice for them, they interpret it wrong, and it becomes this fight of, well, I was right because I was trying to do this to be nice. Like, no, you were doing that to rub it in my face. No, and it's this, it can only be one or the other. But in reality, you had that experience, and that is 100% real. And at the same time, I felt turned away, and I felt rejected, and I felt hurt too. And so here we're both feeling hurt, and so it's not about who's right or wrong, who did what, but it's about we're both feeling a lack of connection right now. We're both feeling a sense of loss, of being misunderstood and having our actions misinterpreted. And that's something that we can bond and agree on. And so when it comes to humans, There is no black or white answer. It is very nuanced, it's very subjective, and what's important is to live in the moment and to be real and to look at their eyes, look at their body language and say, wow, I can see the impact that that had on you. And that's not what I meant, but that must be really difficult to have that experience because that's your reality. Whether or not I accept or experience that reality, that is their reality. And I think that relationships can become so much deeper as we realize that we don't need to be the same person and have the same experience and feel the same emotions to be a couple. What's beautiful is that we are two very different people who have very different perspectives, but we care and validate the other person's perspective. We put them first, we sacrifice for them, and even when it doesn't make sense to us, we're willing to try to understand because they are important to us. And I think that that will bridge a lot of gaps in communication between friends, between partners, even parents and their children, coming from a humble place of not knowing, of not assuming, and just being curious what their experience is like, because I can guarantee it is a lot different than your experience. And so by being curious and unassuming, it takes out the judgment, it takes out the expectation, and it just allows creativity and growth in the relationship. Thank you for watching today's video with me, Emily, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos.